My name is Irene Dickerson. I'm 27 years old, and I didn't shut off my boyfriend's dream out of anger. I shut it off because he stole from me and expected me to smile while he did it. I'm writing this because my hands were still shaking hours later, because part of me wondered if I'd gone too far, and because enough people have tried to rewrite this story for me that I need to put the truth somewhere. It can't be twisted. I'd been with my boyfriend, Johnny Caldwell, for almost 4 years. We lived together for 2.5 of those in a modest 2-bedroom apartment. Nothing fancy, beige carpet, thin walls, a kitchen light that flickered if you didn't twist it just right. But it was ours, or at least that's what I thought. When we moved in, it made sense for everything to be under my name. I had the better credit score. Electricity, internet, renter's insurance, even the lease itself, mine. Johnny Venmo'd me his half, every month, without issue. It worked. Or so I believed. Johnny worked as a warehouse supervisor. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. Around $52,000 a year, benefits included. I'm a dental hygienist pulling in just under 60. Between the two of us, we were comfortable, not wealthy, but stable. Date nights without guilt, groceries without counting every dollar. A future that felt solid enough to plan around. I had $11 or $400 in my personal savings account. Money I'd been building slowly for years. Emergency fund, maybe a house down payment someday, maybe both. That account represented discipline, sacrifice, security. 3 weeks before everything blew up, Johnny came home at 2:00 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was off that day folding laundry on the couch, half watching a cooking show I'd already seen twice. He walked in grinning, backpack still on his shoulder. "Babe," he said, voice buzzing, "I've got huge news." I smiled without thinking. "Okay, what's up?" I quit. I stopped folding. The shirt in my hands just slipped. "You quit?" I asked. "Like your job?" "Yeah," he said, nodding like he'd just announced a promotion. "I'm going full-time with streaming. This is my shot." Johnny had been streaming as a hobby for about 8 months, mostly Battle Royale games. Around 300 followers on Twitch, 0 income. But he talked about it constantly, algorithms, grind, culture, breakout moments. "Johnny," I said carefully, "we talked about this. You said you'd wait until you had at least 1,000 consistent viewers before even considering going part-time." He waved that off. Plans change. The warehouse was killing my creativity. I need to be fresh, energized. I can't build something real if I'm exhausted all the time. I wanted to scream. Instead, I inhaled slowly. "Okay," I said. "So how are you paying your half of the bills while you build something real?" That's when his tone shifted. Softer. Calculated. "I was hoping," he said, "that you could cover things for a little while. Just a few months. 3, maybe 6. Then when I blow up, I'll pay you back triple." Every alarm in my body went off at once. But I didn't explode. I didn't accuse. I said I'd think about it. Because I loved him. Or thought I did. Fast forward to last Thursday. I came home after a 10-hour shift, my back aching, my patience already thin, and walked into what looked like a tech warehouse had exploded inside our spare room. Boxes everywhere, foam padding, cables snaking across the floor. Johnny was standing there proudly adjusting a massive monitor. "What is all this?" I asked. He beamed. "My setup. I had to invest in myself. You can't compete with a budget rig." My stomach dropped. "How much did this cost?" I asked. "Don't worry about it," he said. "It's an investment." "How much, Johnny?" He hesitated. "Like 8 grand. The room tilted. "Where did you get $8,000? He wouldn't look at me. "Johnny." "I borrowed it." "From who?" Silence. "From who?" Finally, barely audible, "From your savings." I felt something inside me go completely still. "My savings account," I said. "The one that's in my name, that you don't have access to." "You left your banking app logged in on the iPad," he said quickly. "I just transferred it." I stared at him. "You stole from me." "It's not stealing," he snapped. "We're together. What's yours is mine." That was the moment everything changed, even before I knew what I was going to do next. I told him I needed space. He seemed relieved. Said he had a big stream scheduled that night anyway. And while he went to chase applause from strangers using money I'd spent years protecting, I started making calls. I didn't leave the apartment right away. After telling Johnny I needed space, I went into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded in my lap, staring at the opposite wall like it might explain what had just happened. My brain did that strange thing where everything felt both muffled and razor-sharp at the same time, like the world had gone quiet, but every thought was screaming. $8,000. I opened my banking app with shaking fingers, even though I already knew what I'd see. There it was. A transfer I hadn't authorized. A date and time burned into my memory now. Money that had taken me 3 years of discipline overtime, shifts, skipped vacations, and quiet sacrifices gone in seconds because I'd trusted the wrong person. Behind the bedroom door, I could hear Johnny moving around, humming to himself. The sound made my stomach twist. He wasn't panicked. He wasn't ashamed. He was excited, energized, like he'd just unlocked the future and couldn't wait to show it off. A few minutes later, he followed me into the bedroom, still talking like nothing was wrong. "Babe, I know this is a shock," he said, leaning against the doorframe, "but you'll see. This setup is going to change everything." I didn't look at him. "When were you planning to tell me?" I asked quietly. "I mean, I figured you'd notice eventually," he said, then laughed a little like it was a joke. "I didn't want to stress you out." That laugh did something to me. It peeled back the last layer of denial I had left. "You didn't want to stress me out," I repeated. "So instead you drained my savings without asking." He sighed like I was being unreasonable. "Irene, you're making this bigger than it needs to be." I finally looked up at him. "Explain how." "It's temporary," he said. "Money comes and goes. This is about investing in our future. Don't you want us to win?" Us. He kept saying that word like a shield, like it erased consent, like it turned theft into teamwork. "I need to process this," I said evenly. "Can you give me some space tonight?" He relaxed instantly. The tension he'd been pretending not to feel drained right out of him. "Yeah," he said. "Of course. No problem. I've got a stream at 8 anyway. Big one. A lot of people said they'd show up." That was it. That was his priority. Not the look on my face, not the trust he'd just shattered. The stream. He left the room already mentally somewhere else. I sat there for another 10 minutes, listening to him boot up his new equipment. Fans whirring. The click of keys. The low hum of something expensive coming to life powered by my money. Something inside me hardened. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't throw anything. I stood up, grabbed my phone, and walked into the kitchen. I called the electric company first. "I'm moving out," I told the representative. "I need to cancel service effective immediately." There was a pause. It usually takes about an hour to process. "That's fine," I said. Next was the internet provider. Same explanation, same calm voice, same request for immediate termination. My hands were steady now, my mind clear in a way it hadn't been all evening. I went back to the bedroom and packed a bag. Essentials only. Laptop, documents, jewelry, clothes for a few days. I left everything else exactly where it was, including the tea I'd poured earlier still cooling on the kitchen counter. From the spare room, I heard Johnny's voice rise in excitement. "What's up, everyone?" he said, projecting confidence. "Welcome to the stream. Looking crisp tonight with the new setup." I didn't hesitate anymore. I picked up my bag, walked out the door, and locked it behind me. I drove straight to my sister's place. I didn't know exactly when the power would cut. I didn't need to. I just knew that at some point the screen would go black, and for the first time that night, Johnny would feel the consequences of what he'd done. I didn't watch it happen. At least not directly. I was sitting on my sister's couch, knees pulled to my chest, staring at a muted television that I wasn't really seeing. My sister had offered me tea, food, comfort, anything, but I'd shaken my head at all of it. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't cold. I wasn't even sad in the way people expect you to be after something like this. I was calm. Too calm. That scared me more than if I'd been hysterical. My phone sat face down on the coffee table. I didn't want to look at it. I already knew what would be there. Calls, texts, confusion turning into panic, turning into anger. I'd lived with Johnny long enough to know the sequence by heart. About 40 minutes later, the phone started vibrating anyway. Once, twice, then again. I didn't answer. Later, much later, I learned the exact moment it happened. Johnny was mid-match, fully locked in adrenaline high. According to one of his friends, he was talking to Chad about how this was just the beginning, how he was finally committing to his dream. His webcam light was glowing. The new monitors were crisp. Everything looked perfect. And then nothing. The lights cut out mid-sentence. The monitors went black. The stream froze, then disconnected. His viewers watched the screen go dark without explanation. No outro, no apology, just gone. At first, Johnny thought it was a breaker. He tried flipping switches. Nothing. Then he checked his phone. No Wi-Fi. No data coming through. That's when the realization hit him. I wasn't there to see his face, but I can imagine it perfectly now. Shock, then anger, then fear. My phone finally lit up again. This time I picked it up. 23 missed calls. A text came through at 1:02 a.m. "What did you do?" I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. "Canceled the utilities that were in my name since I'm moving out." The reply came instantly. You can't do that. I felt something close to satisfaction for the first time that night. I did. Another message. You just destroyed my career. I exhaled slowly. Your career is your problem now. There was a pause. Then, what about all my equipment? The PC could be damaged from a sudden power loss. That was it. That was the moment any lingering doubt evaporated. Sounds like you should have thought about that before stealing $8,000 from me. I blocked him. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I regretted what I'd done, but because my mind kept replaying everything leading up to it, every red flag I'd explained away, every time I'd been the responsible one, the stable one, the one who picked up the slack and called it love. By morning, the fallout had already begun. Johnny's mother was the first to break through. She left a voicemail so long it cut off mid-sentence. Accusations layered over concern, over outrage, over something that sounded like disbelief that I dared to step out of line. His sister texted next, then his best friend. I didn't respond to any of them. By noon, I finally answered his mother's call, only because she'd hinted repeatedly that she might get the authorities involved. You can't just leave him with nothing, she said the moment I said hello. He has no power, no internet, no way to work. I almost laughed. His work was playing video games, I said, and he has no power because the utilities were in my name. I canceled them when I moved out. You did that to hurt him, she snapped. No, I replied evenly. I did that because he stole $8,000 from my savings account without asking. That's actually a crime. Silence. Then colder. That's between couples. You don't air dirty laundry. You work it out. There's nothing to work out, I said. We're done. You're going to regret this, she said. He was the best thing that ever happened to you. I hung up. By the end of the day, Johnny had already spun his own version of the story, one where he was the dreamer betrayed. The victim sabotaged the man whose future had been ripped away by a vindictive woman who didn't believe in him. And I knew deep down this was only the beginning. The messages didn't stop after that. They multiplied. Johnny's mother kept calling from different numbers. His sister sent long paragraphs about family loyalty and support during hard times. His best friend tried guilt, said Johnny was sleeping on a couch, that he was humiliated that I'd gone too far. I didn't respond to any of it. What finally broke my silence wasn't another message. It was a knock. Sunday afternoon, 2 days after I left, my sister opened her front door and froze. Johnny was standing there, unshaven, eyes red, wearing the same hoodie he'd slept in when we still shared a bed. He looked smaller somehow, like the confidence he'd worn so comfortably had deflated overnight. We need to talk, he said, pushing his foot into the doorway when my sister tried to close it. This is between me and her, he added. I stepped forward. Say what you need to say, I told him. You have 2 minutes. He didn't waste them on apologies. You destroyed my stream, he said. My followers are asking where I went. I missed 3 scheduled streams. Do you know how bad that is for growth? You stole $8,000 from me, I replied. We're not discussing your Twitch analytics. I told you it was an investment, he shot back. I was doing it for us, and he gestured wildly. You sabotaged everything. There was no us in that decision, I said. You quit your job without telling me, then took my money without asking. That's not a partnership, that's entitlement. His jaw tightened. You never believed in me. That one almost worked. For half a second, doubt crept in. Maybe I hadn't supported him enough. Maybe I'd been too practical, too cautious. Then I remembered the bank statement. You're right, I said calmly. I don't believe in you. Not anymore. His face fell. So that's it, he asked. 4 years and you're just walking away. You walked away first, I said. When you decided your dreams mattered more than my trust. He switched tactics, then voice softening, shoulders slumping. Baby, he said, tears gathering in his eyes. I messed up. I know that, but we can fix this. Just come home. I'll figure out the bills. I'll pay you back. With what I asked. You have no job, no income, and now no platform. I'll get the utilities back on, he said quickly. I'll put them in my name. Great, I said. Do that. His relief was instant until I continued. The apartment is still under my lease, I said. So you have until the end of the month before I notify the landlord I'm breaking it. His expression shifted from hope to panic. You can't kick me out, he said. I live there. You're not on the lease, I replied. You never were, and I'm giving you 3 weeks' notice. That's generous. He left after that, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. That night, the smear campaign went public. An unknown number texted me a screenshot from Johnny's gaming Discord. He'd posted about me, called me financially abusive, controlling, claimed I'd pulled the plug on his career out of spite, said I was holding his equipment hostage. I wasn't holding anything hostage. His gear was still in the apartment. I just wasn't funding the electricity anymore. That distinction didn't matter to his audience. Strangers started sliding into my DMs, calling me names, telling me I'd ruined a good man, that I was toxic, heartless, Vindictive? I could handle internet strangers. What I couldn't handle was when his mother called my mother. Somehow, she tracked down her number and decided to discuss the situation. My mom told me later what she'd said. "Your son stole $8,000 from my daughter," my mother replied calmly. "She's not ruining anything. He did that himself." It wasn't stealing, his mother argued. They were in a relationship. Where my mom corrected, and taking money without permission is the definition of stealing. The call ended badly. I got a text minutes later. "Your whole family is toxic. No wonder you can't keep a man." I screenshot it and saved it to a folder on my phone. Something told me I was going to need proof. Things went quiet for a few days after that. No calls, no texts, no surprise appearances. For the first time since everything exploded, I thought maybe, just maybe, Johnny had finally accepted that this was over, that he was licking his wounds, figuring things out, leaving me alone. I should have known better. The letter arrived on a Wednesday morning. It was forwarded to my sister's address, thick cream-colored envelope, my name, typed neatly on the front. I recognized the tone before I even opened it, official, confident, written by someone who expected intimidation to do the work for them. A lawyer. Johnny's lawyer. I sat at the kitchen table and read it twice, then a third time, because the audacity of it didn't register all at once. They were demanding 4 things. First, the immediate return of Johnny's property, the streaming equipment I had never touched. Second, compensation for lost income from missed streams. According to their calculations, I owed him $2,400 based on projected earnings. I actually laughed out loud at that part. Third, reimbursement for a $380 electric deposit he'd paid to get power turned back on in his name. Fourth, and this was my favorite, an apology for defamation based on me telling people he had stolen from me. I set the letter down and stared at the wall for a long moment. Then I called my sister's friend, a lawyer who owed her a favor. She read the letter, sighed, and said, "Give me an hour." Her response was surgical. She stated that the utilities had been in my name, and I had terminated them upon moving out fully within my rights. The equipment belonged to Johnny and remained in the apartment untouched. Lost income from a hobby generating $0 was not compensable, and truth, she reminded them, was an absolute defense against defamation. Then she added one final line that made my chest feel lighter for the first time in weeks. "We are also evaluating whether to pursue criminal charges for the unauthorized transfer of $8,000 from my client's personal savings account." Johnny's lawyer went silent after that. Johnny did not. He started showing up places, not in a scary restraining order kind of way, just pathetic. The coffee shop near my sister's house, the grocery store, once outside my workplace, standing by my car like he'd been waiting. That time I confronted him. "Why are you here?" I asked. "I just want to talk," he said. "You won't answer my calls." "Because we have nothing to talk about," I replied. "You stole from me. We're done." "I made a mistake," he said. "People make mistakes." "That wasn't a mistake," I said. "That was a choice." He shook his head, voice cracking. "You're really going to throw away 4 years over money." "Over trust," I corrected. "You just used money to break it," he cried in the parking lot. A small part of me felt bad. The rest of me remembered logging into my bank account and seeing that transfer. "I have nothing now," he said. "No job, no streaming career, no you. I'm sleeping on my buddy's couch. My mom thinks I'm a failure." "Then maybe use this time to reflect on how you got here," I said. I got in my car and drove away. A few days later, his sister reached out. She asked to meet for coffee, said she wasn't there to advocate for him, just wanted to understand. I agreed. I shouldn't have. Within 10 minutes, it was clear this wasn't curiosity, it was an intervention. "He's really struggling," she said. Like, not eating, not sleeping. His mental health is in a bad place. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said honestly, "but it's not my responsibility anymore." She frowned. "Don't you think you were a little harsh? The power thing was pretty brutal." "You know what's brutal," I said quietly. "Working for 3 years to save money and having someone you trust take it overnight." "He was going to pay you back," she insisted. With what I asked, imaginary streaming income. She tried every angle after that: love, loyalty, sacrifice, forgiveness. Then she said the one thing that snapped the last thread of patience I had left. "Maybe you're being a little materialistic." I stared at her. "Wanting my own money back isn't materialism," I said. "It's self-respect." She left angry. I didn't stop her. A week later, the consequences finally caught up to Johnny in ways even his family couldn't spin. His buddy kicked him out. Apparently, Johnny hadn't been contributing to bills, hadn't been cleaning, and had been asking repeatedly to use their Wi-Fi to stream. His buddy's girlfriend put her foot down. He had to go. Johnny moved back into the apartment. He'd managed to get the power and internet turned on in his name. But here's the thing about putting utilities in your own name. You have to pay for them. And Johnny had no income. Johnny tried to make a comeback. That's what he called it anyway. He posted about it on Twitter, something vague about taking time to reset and coming back stronger. He went live a few nights later after finally scraping together enough money to keep the power on for another week. 12 people showed up. Not 1,200, not even 100. 12. According to a mutual friend who couldn't resist updating me, the stream was bleak. Johnny spent most of it ranting about toxic relationships and people who don't support your dreams. The chat barely moved. No new subscriptions, no donations, no hype. The algorithm had moved on, and so had his audience. Dreams built on borrowed money don't survive reality very long. A few days after that, his mom called me again. This time her voice was different, quieter, tired. "I know we haven't agreed on much," she said, "but I think you deserve to know something." I braced myself. He pawned some of the equipment, she continued. The monitors, the chair, a few other things. He got about $1,800 for it. I closed my eyes. "The equipment he bought with my money," I said. "Yes," she admitted. "He used it for rent and the electric bill." There was a pause. "I think," she said carefully, "that he owes you that money, at least what he got from selling it." It was the most reasonable thing she'd said since this all started. "I appreciate you saying that," I replied, "but I'm not holding my breath." She told me he'd started applying for warehouse jobs again. Different company, lower pay, that she'd make sure he paid me back monthly if he could. I thanked her and hung up. I didn't believe her, not really, but something had shifted. The fantasy was cracking. Even she could see it now. About a week later, I stopped waiting and started acting. I filed a police report. Not because I thought he'd be hauled away in handcuffs. Not because I wanted revenge. I did it for documentation, for a paper trail, in case Johnny ever tried to claim the money was a gift, or that I'd agreed to it. The officer was honest with me. Cases like this between former partners were messy. The transfer was unauthorized. Yes, but proving theft versus shared finances in criminal court was complicated. He suggested civil court instead. So I filed in small claims. $8,000. No lawyers required. Just me, my evidence, and the truth. Johnny was served at his buddy's place again. According to the server's notes, he read the papers, blinked, and said, "Are you kidding me?" "No, Johnny, I wasn't." He didn't show up for the first court date. The judge wasn't impressed. The hearing was rescheduled, and a warning was issued, fail to appear again, and a default judgment would be entered. The second time he showed, he looked rough, unshaven, hollow-eyed, wearing a wrinkled button-down that clearly wasn't his. When the judge asked him if he disputed the transfer, his answer was shaky. "No, Your Honor," he said. "I transferred the money. But we were in a relationship. I thought it was shared." The judge asked a few simple questions. "Was there a written agreement?" "No." "Did she verbally consent?" "No." "Was my name on his account?" "No." "Was his name on mine?" "No." When it was my turn, I handed over my bank statements, the screenshots of his texts admitting he took the money, everything I'd saved in that folder. The judge ruled in my favor. Full amount, plus court costs. $8.47 total. Johnny looked like he was going to be sick. "I don't have that money," he said quietly. "I'm unemployed." The judge didn't blink. "Then I suggest you find employment," she said. "This judgment is enforceable for 20 years. I won. But winning, I learned, isn't always the same as collecting. Getting a judgment and collecting on it are two very different things. Johnny did eventually find work again. Another warehouse, different company, lower pay, no benefits for the first few months. His mom hadn't lied about that. But he was also behind on everything: rent, car payments, credit cards. There was no dramatic paycheck where my money suddenly reappeared. And strangely, that stopped mattering. The judgment wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the record, about a court looking at what happened and saying this was wrong. That mattered more to me than a bank balance. A few weeks after the court date, I heard through mutual friends that Johnny had finally given up on streaming entirely. Sold the PC to cover rent. The rest of the dream quietly died, not with a bang, but with overdue bills and empty chat rooms. It wasn't something I celebrated. It just was. Then came the apology letter from his mother, an actual letter handwritten. She said she was sorry for how she'd spoken to me, that her protectiveness of her son had blinded her to his actions, that she hoped I could move on and find happiness. It was sincere. I didn't respond, but I didn't throw it away either. It's still in a drawer somewhere. Johnny's sister never reached out again. A few weeks after that, I got one final message from Johnny himself. It came through email since I'd blocked him everywhere else. He wrote that he knew I probably wouldn't respond, but that he needed to say something anyway. He apologized not in the way he had before with excuses and deflection, but directly, for taking the money without asking, for seeing me as a resource instead of a partner, for convincing himself that his dreams justified his behavior. He said he understood now. I read it 3 times. Part of me wanted to reply, to say thank you for finally getting it, to wish him well, to close the loop neatly. I didn't. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. I moved into my own place not long after that. A small studio apartment, nothing fancy, but it's mine. Lease in my name, utilities in my name, every decision mine. I started rebuilding my savings, slowly. I'm only at about $1,200 so far, but it's a start. And this time every dollar feels protected. People ask me if I regret how I handled it. The power cutting midstream, the dramatic exit, the fallout. Honestly, no. Johnny showed me exactly who he was the moment he took that money. He showed me that his dreams mattered more than my security, that his ambition outweighed my autonomy, that in his mind, what was mine was already his. All I did was refuse to keep funding that belief. The screen going black during his stream wasn't me destroying his career. It was me withdrawing my consent. There's a difference. I'm not dating anyone right now. Trust will take time to rebuild, not with someone else, but with myself. I ignored too many red flags because I wanted to believe in the version of him I loved. That's on me, and I'm learning from it. If there's one thing I hope anyone reading this takes away, it's this: you are never obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else's dreams warm,